So welcome, Ryan.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Karen. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. You and I had a conversation a few days ago last week, and
We did.
it was so fabulous. We were meant to have a 15-minute chat, but we were still on about an hour later, and we couldn't stop
We
talking
were.
about all the deep and wonderful things of life. But
Absolutely.
Ryan, you are the you. If I gave you a label, or a title, it'd be the belief engineer. And
Yep.
you have developed this system through reverse engineering, and we will get into it. But from moving
Mhm.
from the toxic belief system to the optimal belief system, and I can't wait for people to actually hear what that means and how to go on. Well, you're not going to tell everybody all your secrets because they do need to come to you to get some of the hypnotherapy and some of the stuff that makes it work.
Sure.
But to give everyone the overview of it. But uh, before we get to that,
Hmm.
I'm really curious about your life because it's not like you're about 50 and you go, oh, I think I'll come up with a system, that might work for people.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody does this sort of stuff because like they're just bored and like might as well on us Tuesday, right? No, it's been an interesting journey. I grew up in Kansas in 1970s and 80s and kind of give people a little hint about what comes next. It turns out I have autism and bipolar disorder, but I didn't get diagnosed with those until 2023 when I was almost 48 years old.
Mm,
So, because as you can imagine, growing up in Kansas, the world
yep,
works just fine for everybody else, not for me, right?
yep,
And because this was before the internet was a thing, nobody was really able to figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't figure it out. It was just a mess, right? So
yep,
my entire life has been trying to figure out how the heck you people work, so I can figure out
yep.
how to connect, right? So I've essentially never been able to take what you people say about how things work on face value. It just has never ever worked for me. It's like, oh, it works like this. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Not for me. It doesn't. Like maybe it works for you, not for me, right? And yeah, so like I tried to do the normal college thing after high school. I actually had a 4-year academic scholarship to Kansas State University. Uh, Blew that away, basically drinking my first entire year because I was like bored with all the classes. Not my finest showing, right? And about a year or two later, I'm like, I've got to get out of Kansas. This is just not for me, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to join the military. Grew up on like science fiction and military fiction and stuff like that, and like this is a way out. And I decided somewhat foolishly, like if I'm going to do this, might as well do it, right? And so I joined the Marine Corps instead of doing something easy like the Air Force, right?
Yeah.
And like if you're going to do something, you might as well do it, right? Like why
Yeah.
do things by half? I've always been a jump off the cliff kind of guy that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got in and they did the first aptitude testing. Like we need you to take another test. I'm like, okay. And it's like a 4 hours of gibberish. It's called the Defense Language Aptitude Battery. And basically, they're trying to figure out how quickly you can kind of like ingest and take on like syntax and vocabulary and stuff like that, right? And I scored really high on that and said, okay, great, we're going to make your linguist. I'm like, okay, just get me the hell out of here. I don't care. All right, so they sent me to Monterey, California for a little over a year to learn Russian. And then another little bit of intelligence training, and then off to Hawaii to serve as a Russian linguist, which is somewhat unusual. And that was kind of cool. I love learning languages because, again, they're like all about systems and patterns. And I've always been working on systems and patterns because if I
Mm,
can figure out, if there's a theme or pattern that runs through something, then there's something specific that drives it, right? There's a machine
yeah.
or an algorithm of some kind.
Yeah.
So if I can figure out what that machine is and how the algorithm works, then I can figure out what the outputs are.
Yeah.
Right. So I've just basically been reverse engineering people. It's like, oh, this is the same thing. Easy day for me. Right. As soon as I
Yeah.
recognize the system, like just plug this stuff in. It's the easiest thing in the world. So that was first 5 years of kind of like my post college career. Got out in 2002, transitioned to the Air National Guard, supporting like Predators and U-2s and F-16s and F-22s. And then 2004, got picked up by a company out in Virginia and started doing contract work for the CIA.
Mm,
Counterterrorism for about 7.5 years or so. Counter proliferation, working on weapons of mass destruction, things like that for another like 6.5 years, and supporting like outreach to advanced technology companies for a couple of years after that. Right, really
wow.
cool stuff. Loved it.
Mm,
It was great. It was great. Also have ADHD on top of everything else. Like not that you could have be able to tell, but it was so perfect for that world. It really was because you're walking in every day. It's like, okay, great, what's on fire?
yeah.
Nothing ever goes according to plan in that world. It doesn't, right? But it was so much fun, and I was able to do so many really cool things and so many things that really kind of made an impact. So it was an amazing time. And
Mm,
but after a while, what I realized was, I'm doing all this work to kind of like buy time and create
yeah.
space for people to make
Yeah.
better solutions, right?
Yeah.
and nothing's changing. In fact, the world is getting worse. I'm like, clearly I'm in the wrong line of business, right?
Yeah.
So around 2019, I started looking about, what's going to be my next big thing. And it was about the same time I really started doing a lot of work on myself. I'd gotten out of my second marriage in 2018 and got into a relationship pretty quick after that. But that ended in the summer of 2019 and started trying doing dating again. It was not working. Dating in your mid 40s in Washington, D.C. is a nightmare. That's when I realized, well, it is, especially if you're autistic. It's like, I can't tell you how many times like I've matched with somebody on like Bumble. Yeah. And before we even got the first date, it's like, okay, how long do you want to wait until you want to have kids? I'm like, what? It's like we haven't even met, and you're right. No. So it really felt like I was kind of like a checkbox on somebody else's life plan for a while. And it's like, nah, this is not it. But that's really what kind of got me started on that whole personal development and healing journey. And kind of in and out of therapy for a decade before that. Had a major depressive episode in 2009. Turns out autistic masking kind of takes its toll after a while. And did some therapy around the time, getting my second divorce, kind of worked through that. Never really made any big change. It helped me understand a lot of things, but never really fixed anything. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So going and then we kind of land on you figuring it out yourself, through all your patterns and all of that kind of stuff. But when you were at university or just growing up in Kansas, and like ADHD would have been hard anyway, but it kind of might have fit with a gun toting, like a little bit maniac down there. But
a little bit.
Yeah. Getting a little bit of trouble. But when you decide, like deciding to go to college back then and not knowing that you had autism. And by the way, let's call it what is, Asperger's. And you and I both agree on this. We hate that Asperger's has been thrown in with autism because it's just not. It is on the spectrum, but it's just not the same thing. And it's a whole different. Yeah. To call yourself an Asperger is a lot different to calling yourself a naughty. But anyway, that's a personal taste on that. But when you went to university, like, were you thinking, you said that you had therapy for years and years and years. While you were going through university and not fitting and everything was just like, yuck, were you thinking something was wrong with you? And like, not ADHD or not, but just, am I the one that's doing something wrong?
That's always been my life. Like I said, everything works just fine for everybody else. I am always the one, like I'm the oddball. I'm the freak of nature it doesn't work for. Right now, like with the university, it was kind of one of the situations where I was just bored. Freshman year, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm like way ahead of this stuff and it's just not interesting and I cannot pretend to care.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the other thing because I was a good kid in high school. I didn't really get in trouble. So it's like, okay, I was good in high school. Now it's time to do that in college. So that was kind of that piece, but it was also recognizing, about a year or two later, it's like, I can't sit here and do this. Right. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and build widgets. Like I can't care. I can't. I need something more than that. I need something more interesting, more challenging, something that's going to have a bigger impact in the world. Right. Which is a big part of why I joined the Marine Corps.
But why the Marine Corps? What was it about that suited well, that you thought would suit your, I guess, your brain wiring, that your personality, the way you were? What was it about that you went, wow?
It was more of a, like I said, I spent a lot of time, when I was growing up, like reading, military fiction and science fiction and fantasy. Right. And so the idea of, kind of being that knight in shining armor between the darkness and people that don't deserve it was always really important to me. Right. Yeah. And so kind of the I guess the mindset I had is like, okay, well, if the world's not going to work for me, if I'm not really going to get what I want, then if I am in service to this higher good, if I am being the thing that prevents bad stuff from happening to good people, then my life has meaning, has purpose, right? It's like Batman's life sucks. It really does. It does, right? He goes out and gets his butt kicked all the time. Gotham City hates him, but it's a really good thing he's around.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to get it, like at least I can have purpose and meaning. At least there's a reason for me to stick around on this planet if I can have that kind of impact, right? And if I'm going to do that, like I said, might as well go ahead and do it. It's like Marine Corps is the hardest. I'm like, all right, let's do that because why not? And so it was much more of a finding a way to serve in a way that would bring that meaning and impact to me in a way that Yeah, made sense. Sorry, hold on, give me just a second.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
This little bastard needs to
I
go
was
away.
going to say, is that a pussycat? He looks like my tiger, a little tabby. No, actually, a very big tabby climbing all over your computer.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, I love you, bro, but right in the middle of a podcast, you need to get the fuck out of here. You've been ignoring me all day. You've been ignoring me all day. The second I decide to do this, what do? Pop, get down.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I fucking told you 7 times, go the way. Why do you? It'd be fine if they got the hand after the first once or twice, but no, it's like
No, they
11 times
don't.
you used to. Oh,
No,
God
not
damn.
cats. It's kind of cats have slaves, it's kind of like
No,
whatever they
I
want.
know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm curious then, when you went in and they did all those tests and they said, oh, you can go be a
Yep.
linguist.
Mhm.
Were you, I mean, I know you're saying that linguistics has got patterns and once you work
Mhm.
them out and that, but had you ever studied a language before that? That there was this
Oh,
something that
sure.
was, oh, you had. Okay.
Yeah,
What
sure.
did you?
So, like, in like middle school and stuff like that, they had to take like, Spanish and things like that. And I
Yeah.
took Latin for a little while because I wanted to be a weirdo. And then in high school, I was in an international baccalaureate program. It's kind of like a gifted program,
Yeah.
designed to kind of get you ready for college, and you had to be taking a language. So I was like, well, they offered Japanese at the school I was in. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take that one. Why? Because I'm a weirdo. Number two, Japan. And so I've been studying Japanese for about 4 or 5 years by the time I got in the Marine Corps. Right. And again, it's the language stuff was pretty easy for me. So when I got to school there, learning Russian 8 hours a day does kind of turn your brain to mush.
Mm.
40 hours of language training a week is a lot, but still is something. As soon as I picked up on the syntax and the what is it? The rules, what not syntax, grammar. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Understood how the sentences are put together and kind of, Russian is very structured, got different participles and stuff like that to denote, the interactions between words and phrases. So it's like, oh, as soon as I mapped that out, everything was pretty much easy. Right.
Mm.
As opposed to English, where there are no rules. And every rule you have, there's like 73 exceptions. So it's like going from that to something much more structured where it's pretty simple. Japanese is the same way, Latin is the same way. So it's pretty easy to, make that shift.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay. Yeah, I agree with you about English. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just think, oh my God, all these people that have to come to Australia, come to America, well, God, let's not talk about the American immigration. But anyway, or actually neither at the moment. But,
Right.
I feel so sorry for them. I think, wow, how do you there, and there, and where, why, and where, God knows what. And, there's
Yep.
so many words that are the same or sound the same that mean completely, how the hell do they do it? But so I've been to Hawaii like 23 times. I consider it my
Love it.
second home, and I've only just sort of read something lately about it's karmic. It's kind of a bad karma because of all the military action there, And I've been to Pearl Harbor, and I know that they have all the big marine bases there. I know what they have there,
Yep.
but so there is a lot of defense activity that goes on there. Why, though, it really interests me, and this is not confusing me, it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting me leaning into this. Why Russian in Hawaii? Like, is it because Hawaii is such a big naval base, or is it, or such a base, or was there Russian activity? Like, you don't have to spill the beans on all the internal stuff, but I'm just curious as
Well,
to.
the part of the reason like we kept rushing around, and it wasn't really weren't a whole lot of us around the Marine Corps that were Russian linguists because there wasn't that big of a need for it. But like at the same time, you kind of got to keep an eye on them because Russia,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the radio battalion out in Hawaii would support all of the Marine expedition units and the fleets going in the Pacific, right?
Mm.
Which is the ones that are mostly dealing with a lot of the Russian stuff around, like Japan and South Korea, North Korea,
Mm.
those kinds of areas, right? You also have a lot of Russian linguists stationed in Europe, quite obviously, right? But they also had a big NSA base out in Hawaii that did signals intelligence work. So I was up there doing some work for a while. So
Mm.
it's just that was geographically the best way to support the Pacific, and you had a big NSA base. So yeah, just kind of made
So,
sense to have people out there.
what's the point of a Russian linguist? And this is just naivety on my part. I just,
Sure.
I kind of imagine what for, but I'm interested. When
Mhm.
is it when people are held hostage, or when you're negotiating, or when, like,
No, no, no.
why is it for?
Like we're sitting there out on the boats, right? And we're rolling around and there's other Russian boats out there and we're listening on the communications. And right. So you
Ah,
need to have somebody to be able to translate in real time.
yeah.
So in case they start getting squirrely, or in case it's, start getting ordered to messing with us, or, getting times of war, having that real
Mm.
time communications is important, right?
Ah, yeah,
So it's not
yeah,
really about the interrogation, negotiations, stuff like that. They've got a different set of people for that.
yeah.
There's actually a program after you've been in after your first tour to do translation for like the START treaties and like the nuclear weapons treaties and stuff like that,
Mm.
to be part of the teams that do that verification. And there's a number of other programs and stuff as well, but at least at my level, it's just about being ready to do that kind of translation for tactical communications in real time.
Wow. So there's so much that goes on, isn't there, that the average person just doesn't know about. And not
Yeah.
that we can be across every single thing that happens in the world, but gee, it's intriguing.
Yep.
I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
curious mindset. I just want to know everything, but
Absolutely.
clearly I can't hold everything. I do a damn good job, but I can't do everything. Um,
Yeah.
so what about when you went to become, like, to contract for the CIA? Like, why did they
Mm-hmm.
pick you? And what did you put your hand up for it, or was it because you had that linguistic background, or what
Well,
was it?
it was one of situations where, like, this is so 2000 through 2004 was when I applied, and I applied just to a number of companies that were working at IDC. I didn't apply to the CIA directly, and so there are a number of contracting companies like Booz Allen Hamilton and like SAIC and stuff like that that provide contract support to CIA, DoD, FBI, so forth and so on, right? Because they need more bodies doing all this extra work than they have
Mm,
government employees for,
mm,
right? And you don't necessarily need a government employee to do a lot of the stuff, right?
mm,
Just for various legal reasons. And so I just kind of threw my resume up online, and I had a top secure security clearance, with signals intelligence background. And those are
mm,
not easy to get out in the private world, right? You have to be sponsored and they got to do all the investigation stuff. And so it's a pain in the butt to try and get somebody a clearance in the normal
yeah,
world.
yeah.
So coming from the military, and I've already got that box checked, that was the way I got in. It wasn't necessarily
Mm,
because of language background or anything, but I've got an intelligence background. I've got an active security clearance. So all they
mm,
had to do was just do a little bit of extra work to get me to be able to, some qualifications to work for the CIA. They've got their own special needs, of course, because of sort of these sensitivity of what they do.
yeah,
But it's a
yeah,
much easier leap than trying to take somebody from scratch, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's a what? Uh, there's a fine line here, isn't there? Top secret
Yeah, a
info,
little bit.
and sort of
A little bit. Yeah.
what we can chat about. But, like, what sort of,
A little bit.
but yeah, yeah. What's, like, give us what you got, what you can. But you don't have to give us all the dirt. Just give us an
Sure.
overview of a couple of exciting things that you might have done, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, so I think for the first several years, I was working terrorism finance. So tracking
Yeah,
down who was getting money where and how that was going
yeah,
around.
yeah.
And then for the last like 3.5, 4 years of my counterterrorism career, I was working more support against like Al Qaeda and the Taliban in like Afghanistan and Pakistan, kind of going after that whole mess, supporting those efforts.
Wow.
And then from there, I moved on to supporting counterproliferation for, like I said, like 6.5 years or so. And that was mostly against Iran, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, North Korea, kind of the same. And then after that, was doing more domestic support, to outreach to domestic companies in the advanced technology space. Because we got to keep a broad of like everything's happening, and
Mm,
developing countermeasures for that and figure out what's coming next. And that was fascinating. It was much more like supporting the relationships than doing any particular work on that, but
mm,
it was all really cool stuff.
mm.
Um, being able to travel to all kinds of different places to support different operations was cool. Afghanistan was not my favorite, clearly, but I got to
Yeah, yeah.
got to some really interesting places. And that was fun for quite a while. Stressful, takes its toll, but it was a lot of fun.
So, how does someone, because you have well, autism, Asperger's, whatever, and you didn't fit
Yep,
in, like, all this time, and then you've gone and got these
correct.
jobs that you feel like have got meaning and purpose. So you might as well be Batman, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Did it help you or hinder you when you were trying to
Oh,
do a lot of this really fine-tuned, careful stuff?
ugh. Mixed bag, mixed bag
Mm,
at best. So let's separate it into two different pieces, right? Because there's the intelligence work itself, right?
mm,
And with Asperger's and the way my brain is built, there's something called veridical processing, veridical. And basically, it's taking all that rational IQ-based horsepower and slapping it on the pattern matching machine that's in your emotional mind to supercharge that sucker, crank it up to about 27, right? 10, we're just going to crank it up to 27. And what that meant was I was able to make connections between a bunch of things that were not obvious. Right. And in the intelligence space, that's incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I can find this, right, it's like, oh no, we connect these things and this thing happens, or we have now have this insight that enabled all kinds of stuff. Was really able to pull out some really cool things, let them do some real cool stuff. And that's 100% due to having that ASPE brain, you know, just that's wired a certain way. Having the ADHD, being able to thrive in chaos, quite frankly, you know, boring times were my bane. Right.
Yeah.
But when you're in these extremely fast-paced environments where everything is changing, you got to be able to drop, you know, move at a drop of a dime or, you know, a moment's notice. Extremely useful, right? Being able to flex as well as we did, especially coming from that Marine Corps background of like nothing ever works the way it's supposed to. So improvise, adapt, overcome is like the key phrase there. Right? We just always figure it out. We'll make it happen. Doesn't matter what's in the way. That's just kind of a way we do. Incredibly useful, incredibly powerful. So from a executing on the job perspective, incredibly helpful. But office politics was not my forte.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You've got a, you know, you're in a bureaucracy full of spies and people who manipulate and negotiate with people and play with people for a living. And, you know, you're doing all this coordination work, not only internally between all those different departments, you're also working with people from other agencies, other government agencies that have their own priorities. You know, you're working with foreign intelligence services and other partners around the world. And like managing that was really difficult. And it was never really working with the partners that was the problem, because you're there, you've got this joint, you know, the shared purpose. It's very clear what you're going to be doing. But the internal office politics between departments and everything else, oh my God, my bane. Absolute bane in my existence. Completely frustrating. Could never figure out like why you people would not. It's like, this is the obvious way to do that. What is wrong with you? Right? Obviously, we should be doing this, right? And so, yeah, that part of it was always really difficult for me, and it actually got me fired like twice, just because I could not handle that part of the job gracefully. Right. And so they needed a sacrificial lamb to repair the relationship. I was a guy, right? And that's fine, because, you know, quite frankly, I was okay with it. It's like, I'm here to support you the best I can. And if I'm not the guy, you should probably move me on. They said, okay. I didn't mean it that soon. Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, fundamentally, you know, looking back at it, it was 100% the right decision, because I could not handle that aspect of the job. And it was a very critical aspect of the job that they were asking me to do. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't up to it in that regard. Right.
Yeah.
Very powerful tool. Point me at the right thing. I can do amazing things. Ask me to do the wrong thing, I'm a mess. You know, so just
real double-edged sword, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's a mixed bag at best. It's a mixed bag at best. You know.
Oh, the ADHD and with the Asperger's, that's just a double banger anyway. But when you're saying, you know, like I can move on a dime, a lot of people with just Asperger's or autism can't do that. You know, like just can't cope with that thing. So all right, so I feel for you, but I think what an amazing. Well, look, at the end of the day, I always think, when I'm on my deathbed, am I going to look back at my life and go, you know, I did the best I could. You know, I did what went well. I've done some wrong things. We all have. I've done some stupid things. Absolutely. We all have. But, you know, did I repair those things? Did I learn from them? Did I, you know, do my best? And did I have meaning and purpose in my life? So I think you're going to be able to say yes at the end. But what's interesting is that, and I know this because you told me this in the other conversation, is that you knew you had ADHD younger, but you didn't know you had, we'll say autism. But how did that come about? Like, so were you still with a contractor with the CIA when this came about, or were you doing something else?
No. So I basically stopped working as a contractor. So I started, you know, after I started doing self-improvement work in 2019, became a hypnotist in early 2020. Because I was looking for my next big thing, and becoming a psychologist was to take like, you know, 6 years and $500,000, very unappealing in your 40s. But I got certified as a hypnotist, and then COVID happened. I can't work from home because everything I do is classified, so I've got nothing but time on my hands, right? Yeah. So I started doing some hypnosis work around limiting beliefs with a bunch of these guys that I'm in different groups with. And it's like, oh, I've actually got a talent for this. So I started my business in April and went full time in October of 2020. I've been doing that full time ever since. And for the first 2 years or so, everything was pretty easy. I was in a bunch of different men's groups, and very easy for me to get clients, very easy for me to make appearances on podcasts and stuff like that. Very simple. But things got really toxic in that space, and they're around 22, and so it's like, I can't be here anymore. They're not doing anything new and interesting, kind of same old, like not the kind of people I want to be around anymore. So I left. At which point now I've got a problem, because now I have to create an entirely new client base. I have to do the whole lead generation and advertising and all that sort of stuff on my own. And I'm not good at that, right? Because again, social being does not work that way. And so at the beginning of 2023, I started getting treated for my ADHD, right? Because it's not, now I need that, because I before didn't need that support. Everything was working well enough. Now I got to do it on my own. I need that support. So the problem is, if you give Adderall to somebody who has bipolar disorder, it can trigger a manic episode. And I didn't know I had bipolar disorder. So triggered a manic episode. And what happened was like, oh, wow, like I actually do have Asperger's. I do have autism. Oh my God. Now let me go ahead and go down the rabbit hole, figuring out exactly how the mind works, because I meant I was right about some of these theories I had. And when you have autistic thought looping, which is when you grab onto something and don't let it go, combined with a manic episode, you just get this continually escalating thing that just does not stop. The high train gets going. There are no brakes. Off the cliff you go. And so I ended up having a psychotic break, completely lost my mind, ended up getting arrested. Not my funnest showing, not a great day. But after that, I'm like, okay, spent a couple of days in jail, got out. I'm like, all right, that was a surprise, rather unpleasant surprise. Let me make sure there's no other landmines down there that I need to be worried about. So went into a psychologist and got a full workup to make sure there's nothing else going on down there. And they said, yes, you have the ADHD, you've got the bipolar disorder, and so you also are on the spectrum, you got Asperger's or autism. I'm like, okay, yeah, that all checks out. I wasn't really surprised, because two of my younger sons have Asperger's as well. They got diagnosed pretty early, got supported. So it's like, oh yeah, that checks out. That all made sense, right? But I'd never really thought to get tested myself, because everything was working well enough. After getting that diagnosis, oh man, it was life made so much more sense. Made so much more sense. Took me a minute to go back and take a look at things from that different perspective. Like, okay, who I thought I was not who I thought I was. I was wrong in some very important ways, and that took a minute to kind of take a look back at my life and see what else was a contributing factor and why I was doing some of the things I did. And that can be kind of rough, because you kind of look at things, like divorce twice. Okay. If I had known about this, could I have done things better? Like, was the fact that I was bipolar and autistic and didn't know it a contributing factor? It's like, okay, yeah, definitely. And it wasn't until like earlier this year that I kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, that is true. That it was harder than it had to be, because I didn't know about this stuff. And it was never going to work anyway. Right. And I don't have any additional responsibility for the failure just because I had this thing that I didn't know. Right. If I'd known about it, I would have done something about it. So that forgiveness piece is so hard and so key, though. Right. Being able to say, at every step of the way, I did it as best I could, given what I knew at the time. And if I had known better or had a better ability to make different choices, I freaking would have. Right. But getting that point is hard. That point is hard. That was probably the hardest part of this one, aside from the whole like getting the medication thing down, which is another nightmare of an experience. But it took about 1.5 years to get the medication sorted out for bipolar, and basically had to take a sabbatical during that time, which when you're self-employed, it's not particularly fun. Right?
No.
Because now you got to watch your business kind of get, it's not fun. So it's been a rough couple of years. But the beautiful thing about it is, as a hypnotist and somebody who's been interested in how the mind works for your entire life, like going through those experiences teaches you a lot about how that works, right? And even with the medications, kind of seeing how that changes how your mind works and experience things also tells you a lot about kind of what's going on down there and why. And it really kind of helped me expand and refine the models I already had and do, more transformational work, deeper work, bigger work because of it. So yeah, like if I had to do it over again, do I really want to have done it the same? No. Would I, if that's what it took to kind of figure out what I did? Yeah, absolutely. That's a price that's worth paying to me to get to what I've created. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a wonder that the bipolar didn't show itself earlier. With the
No.
under the stressful situations that you would have worked under. It's a wonder that didn't show up. And
well, the depressive stuff was always there.
Yeah.
The depressive side of it was always there. And kind of looking back, different events and things like that I went to, I could definitely see that I was probably a little bit on the manic side for a few days during that. But I didn't think about that because, everybody's there, they're having fun. Everybody's going wild for like 3 or 4 or 5 days straight. Like that's just normal. I didn't think about it. And because my life has been one of can't get what I need, can't get what I want, the highs were never really a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't until that got induced by the medication that it really kind of cranked it to that, I got to see that side of the spectrum, So yeah, I was depressed. I was diagnosed with depression before. Like I said, had a major depressive episode, never had the high side of it to give me the understanding that it was bipolar and not just depression.
Yeah, but that high side, that manic side could have also been, you could have misinterpreted you as ADHD. Because I'm depressed, but I'm also a little bit manic because I've got ADHD. So,
that was never really my piece. Like I never okay, yeah, like maybe I'd be able to play video games for like 48 to 72 hours straight. Like I may have done that once or twice, but like for the most part, I never really had those highs. That's never really been a big part of my experience, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I had never had that other side of the spectrum of the bipolar to have that understanding. And once I had it, it's like, oh wow, like now I get why that's so powerfully damaging, right? Because when you're in that space, man, you feel absolutely phenomenal. You feel like you're right about everything. Like I felt like a god. It was the most amazing thing. But I also realized like, oh crap, like I don't have free will. I can't tell myself no. It's going to do, my mind's going to do whatever the heck it wants to. There's nothing I can do to stop it. That terrified the crap out of me, So that can go badly very, very quickly.
But can you tell yourself no? Because I know people with bipolar who there's not a chance that they would be able to tell themselves, no, actually, let's not have this manic episode. So no,
that's not really a thing.
No,
and more like when you're in it. I remember this one moment very clearly. So I realized it's like, oh wait, my mind is going to do whatever the heck it wants to. I can't stop it. It can it can do what it wants. It can do what it needs to, right? And up to a certain level of complexity, you can. Like if you think about driving to the store, are you really consciously involved in that process?
No, mostly not.
Not really, mostly not, right?
Yeah.
So there's a certain, up to a certain point, like you're just kind of doing things on autopilot. You're doing things unconsciously and naturally anyways.
Yeah.
Which means if your mind decides to run off and do its own thing, there's a lot that it can do just on its own.
Yeah.
It's got a ceiling, right? I'm not going to be, writing the next great American novel or planning out my portfolio. Like that's not something you can do on its own, but there's a lot that it can. And that was kind of terrifying. It really kind of taught me some of the limits around free will and sort of the ways that your mind can manipulate you. And on the way out of it, on the other side of it, like, man, there's really some powerful things I was able to figure out and incorporate in the work that I do so that we can, it's not like we can force it to do what we want it to.
Yeah.
We can deny it resources. But the bigger piece was recognizing how much it can manipulate us using things like emotions.
Yeah.
Kind of think about that. You've got emotional pain, got emotional pleasure, then I've got a carrot and stick I can use to drive you around.
Yep.
Right. So recognizing that, understanding how those mechanisms worked, and then finding ways to take that carrot and stick away so it can't play those games against me anymore was a big part of the work I've done since then.
So let's talk about that. So you having your, loads of therapy and seeing a psychologist, and yes, that helped, like because you managed to get medication and that kind of stuff. But you being frustrated and going, but there's something missing. We're not getting to the cause. I'm still going round and round, and I'm kind of just got a Band-Aid on to shut me up a bit, just to keep me from getting in trouble. What was that? What was the and so let's get into your work at the but what was the hang on before we do, what was that point that made you say, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself? I'm sick of this isn't working, there's got to be another answer, and I'm going to figure out. Was it a point like that, or did you just start trickling pieces together?
It was an interesting kind of mix of things. So like I hadn't been to a psychologist since like late 2018, early 2019. And like 2020 was really when I was starting to do a lot of self-improvement stuff, but it was during the pandemic. So a lot of it was like coaching groups and things like that. I wasn't really digging into deep stuff yet. Yep. But I was picking up a lot of stuff and working with my clients because they've got a lot of issues. So working with them highlighted a bunch of stuff for me.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of 2021, I was realizing like I was just stuck. I'm like, I'm screw it. I declare jihad on my bullshit. I will do whatever the hell it takes to fix this thing because I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
If I can't figure a way to be fixed and be done with this, and I can't get what I need in my life, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done suffering. Right.
Mm.
And so that's really when I just went on a rampage. First, went on, did a couple of different coaching things, did some coaching around limiting beliefs. That got me to my first psychedelic retreat, which was extremely powerful. Got a tattoo on my chest that says "I am alive," July 29th, 2021. I was at that retreat. I'm sitting there after the second day, and I'm hanging out with recliner, just like absolutely loving the world. It's like, man, I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. All this cool stuff I can create. It, man, I'm loving my life. And then hit me. It's like, wait a second. That's the first time in my life I've ever felt that way.
Wow. Yeah.
First time in my life that I actually believed that life could be worth living.
Mm. Wow.
Which means, of course, that before then it wasn't. And I hadn't really understood that.
Wow.
So yeah, that broke me. I was crying for a good half hour, 45 minutes after that. But it also gave me that thing. It's like, okay, it's possible. Put it this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's possible, I just got to work long enough to figure it out. Right. I just kept on going, different psychedelics, different spiritual retreats. Got into Tantra for a while because, did MDMA the first time, spontaneous Kundalini awakening. What the hell is a chakra? I need to figure that out. That's a whole different set of things.
Yeah.
And as I'm going through, I'm realizing, okay, everything helps, nothing fixes you.
Yeah.
Everything happens that they don't really tell you about because they haven't really explored and defined those. So I started saying, okay, where's the missing pieces? Right. And I knew that the subconscious mind was where like 90% of my crap was sitting because that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
That's the hardest place to get to. We've got all kinds of stuff to do that work on a conscious and rational level. Do that all day long. Got all kinds of stuff we can do on sort of an emotional and energetic level. We can do that all day long. Doing work in the subconscious mind and that sort of emotional instinctive layers of your mind is incredibly hard. Right. The only real ways you can get down there, like hypnosis, is psychedelics.
Yeah. Pretty
much it. Psychedelics are beautiful. Big part of my journey. Love it for expansion and insight and everything else. But they're going to take you on whatever ride they want to take you on.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really have any control. And there's some pretty dang big limits in terms of what you can do to change things while you're down there. So all the integration work you do is after you're out of that state, it's on conscious rational level again. Right. So you get a lot of insight. You get to break some patterns or break some stuff loose and create a bunch more room for yourself, but it's really hard to change those foundational patterns. So hypnosis is like, okay, well, I've got hypnosis. That's a direct access tool, and it's a deliberate tool. Fair enough. Most hypnosis is done in terms of suggestion. Yeah. Right. I'm going to open up the door, tell you how awesome you are, shut the door, and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of like affirmations on crack, more or less, right? Our affirmations on steroids.
Yeah.
And that works really well in a lot of ways, and you can do some really cool stuff with it. But the problem is, what you're basically doing is dropping in a new belief set that's competing with the old belief set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This sucker has decades of experience and decades more evidence than this one does.
Yeah.
So either this one falls away completely, or you're just kind of like carving out some space or an exception to this bigger rule. Right.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I'm an intelligence guy with 23 years of experience, and every answer that I need is in the back of your head, and I've got a tool to go get it.
Yeah.
So why am I guessing? I'm just going to go down there and figure it out. I'm just going to go digging around until I can actually figure out what the heck this sucker is and why.
Yeah.
Because if I can map out that belief or like why that belief exists, then I can take it apart and build a new one. And now there's no competition.
Yeah.
Right. Because the old belief is no longer there because we've taken it apart. There's only the new belief. Right. Fair enough. And that started working really well. But the big thing that I think is my innovation, or sort of the light bulb moment went off for me, was when I realized we have two sets of beliefs. Right. We have this rational, logical one, the left brain construction, but we also have a right brain construction that drives all of our emotional responses. Right. It's based on patterns, not details. Right. So it's a narrative to run through everything in your life, not just individual events. But we're always playing with this. The conscious nobody's looking at the patterns, the conscious mind stuff, and the conscious conception of it. Right. Nobody's looking at the patterns. Or what that looks like from that emotional perspective, or that, that deeper primordial sort of layers of your mind that are based on pattern matching. Okay, fair enough. So if I could step back and look at a pattern of events in your life, or a pattern of behavior, or a pattern of results, and say, what's this one? Then I can impact major patterns in your life. Right? All right. So you're procrastinating. You're not really letting yourself take action on stuff, kind of holding yourself back. Great. Why? What problem you're solving by doing this? right? Because this thing isn't actually a problem. This is the unintended consequence of a solution you put in place to solve a problem.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
It's like feel sad, eat donut, feel better, works great.
Yeah.
But if you're depressed for a year, all of a sudden you weigh 350 pounds, you got a different set of problems. But this isn't a problem in itself. This is a downstream consequence of eat donut every time I feel sad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So if I can get down to what the problem is that your mind is trying to fix that causes all this downstream stuff, and I can fix this, none of that's necessary anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I do. Get down and say, all right, great. You're not letting yourself live a good life or succeed. Let's go really high level. Why?
Yeah.
Just let it tell the story.
Yeah.
I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this because of this reason. So therefore, obviously, I don't deserve this. And here we go. Right. And that's how I got down to this idea of the toxic belief system.
Do people actually openly admit that? Like I would imagine when you're talking to people, but actually, I'm going to go back first. I'm just going to say you're extremely brave.
Thank you.
Use with bipolar. Yeah, I'm kind of tongue in cheek, but I really mean this because I'd be shitting myself. Having that condition, you're very brave using psychedelics because Christ knows where that could go with bipolar in the mix. And secondly, even trying to awaken your kundalini, which for people unaware of that, it's kind of like all the main 7 chakras in your body and sort of activating all of them. And if that's done too quickly and too powerfully without you understanding each step of the way, God, that's just as bad as psychedelics. So wonderful thing to do, but scares the shit out of me.
I didn't plan to do that. Well, I didn't. So here's the thing. That was accidental. That was the first time I'd ever done any psychedelics ever. Full on Kundalini awakening. Had done no work on it beforehand. None. Just we're just gonna push the button, blow you open. It's like, what the hell? It's like, congratulations, you had a Kundalini awakening. I'm like, what's that? And it's like, oh, you don't. It's like, this is where you open up your chakra. It's like, cool. What's a chakra?
Yeah.
So it's after I had that I had to figure out what chakras were and do all the touch work and actually like get everything in balance that you're supposed to do ahead of time. I had to figure all that stuff after, But the thing is, I think I don't necessarily know it was bravery. It was desperation in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's like, I have got to figure this out. I don't care it's like, it's either I got to figure this out or die trying. So it doesn't really matter what I do.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I think it's brave because I would not do it because, but then again, I have not been that desperate either, so I don't know.
Exactly.
But to me, when you were saying it, my mind was going, "Holy shit, that could have been a disaster." That could have.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, like, as time wore on, like, it was interesting because a lot of people wouldn't go there because it is terrifying, even when they're in a bad way, because it's just too much. Fair enough. Because the Asperger's, the autism, I couldn't lie to myself. The situation I was in.
Yeah.
I couldn't pretend that better because I couldn't pretend that was going to be good. I was like, I knew that was wrong. So I knew that was going to be the case. So I didn't really have a choice but to figure it out. Right. So if it's figure it out or die trying, then it doesn't really matter. I'm going to take that leap anyway.
Yeah.
But it's also a situation where, because of all the experience I've had, it's pretty easy for me to figure out whether somebody's really good at what they do and I can trust them in terms of their expertise.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the beautiful things about having gone through Marine Corps and done things like martial arts and stuff like that is just submitting to a process. You join boot camp, your life is not your own for 13, 14 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
They say, you're going to do this here, you're going to do this here, you're going to do this here, you're going to do it this way, shut the hell up. I don't care what you say, do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the idea of going through this process, you have no idea how it's going to play out, with the expectation that on the other side, you're going to have some kind of results like, okay, I know how to do that. Cool, let's roll. Yeah. And then once you're in it, you don't really have a choice, so you're off the right anyways, right? But having the ability to take that leap of faith based on past experience of, going through the Marine Corps and stuff like that, more than a little bit of desperation, but also being able to understand who I could trust to take that leap with.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had the good fortune of working with some really, really amazing practitioners. And I managed to dodge a bullet in a lot of ways. Some people that I chose not to work with, because there's a lot of people in there really not good practitioners. And doing psychedelics is a heavy, heavy lift.
Yeah.
It's a no joke kind of thing. Like, you really need to do it. You really need to want to do it. You have to be called to do it. Anybody's doing it for fun, like, I have no idea what to do. You really have to have a deep, powerful calling of this is something you have to know. Yeah.
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 So going back to that, when you're saying, when you commit to something, you've really got to commit.
Yeah.
So like let's say your clients, people coming to you,
Sure.
and telling you their story, and it's kind of, oh yeah, well, I can't, I'm not succeeding because I believe in X, Y, Z. But
Sure.
where I was about to say before I went back to the psychedelics is that there's very few people, in my experience, who are vulnerable enough or desperate enough, whatever the case may be, to actually tell the true story as they see it, because there's a true story and there's a perceived truth, you know, but the true story as they see it, and vulnerably say, you know what, I'm failing because I believe I'm not good enough.
Sure.
Not many people say that. A lot of
Sure.
people waft around and avoid that, or they don't actually know the problem. They say, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. So how do you, like, pulling that stuff and working with the, let's just talk about for a minute, because this is relevant, the
Yeah.
conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind. And when people come to
Sure.
you, which mind is driving them the most, and how do you shift that, and so that you can actually pull the truth out of them?
Sure. So let's start, like, okay, you decide you want to work with me. So you fill out a form on the website, you schedule a call, great. It's basically saying, hey, like, what's not working in your life? What have you already tried? What do you think is in the way? Or why do you think things have not worked the way you want them to? And kind of like, what does it look like when you're done with all this? Like, where do you want your future to look like, right? And from that, I can get a pretty quick idea of what things are probably going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. The way you talk about, the way the things you say, what you don't say, is going to give me a pretty good idea of what work you've done and like how sensitive you are to stuff and things like that, right? Because I don't say, tell me why you think you are the way you are. Because I don't care why you think you are the way you are.
Yeah.
Because if you're right, you would have fixed it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're not right about
Good
that.
point. Yeah, yeah.
Right. There's something about this. There's something about that is wrong, and therefore, and it could be anything. So we really kind of have to question everything, right? So when you sit down with me, I'm like, okay, great. Tell me what is not working in your life. I don't ask you to tell me why. If you start, it's like, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you to tell me what's wrong. What's not working? Cool. And then I'd start digging into some other stuff around like how you are in social situations, kind of like what your relationship history is, because that tells me how comfortable you are showing who you are to the world in various situations. Right. Take a quick look at, okay, great. What was life like for you when you were growing up? And I don't care about the biography. Tell me what your experience was like. Because that's going to give me what? It's going to give me an idea of what sort of pressures you were under when you had no control over the world, which is what drives 99% of those subconscious adaptations, right? So from my perspective, if someone's coming to work with me, the only thing I care about is that deep subconscious mind. Now I look at it in terms of like conscious, rational, emotional, instinctive minds rather than anything else, because I feel like it's a better model for the work I do. I care about the emotional and instinctive minds, right? The instinctive mind is that physical survival part of you. The emotional mind is a pattern matching machine, and that's all about what things mean. The meaning we assign to things is always a pattern-based emotional thing. It's not rational, right? The rational mind is all about how things work. It's about facts, things like that, data, outside world. The emotional mind is always that internal meaning, and that's the thing we need to shift in order to get people out of the trap. It's what things mean, right? So after that, if you decide to work with me, which in itself is a bit of a leap, let's talk about that piece. Like fundamentally, I'm willing to work with anybody who is willing to do the work. But you got to be at a certain point of your development, right? If you can't see bad stuff, if you can't admit stuff there, like I can't play with you. I can't help you, right? Because we need to be able to go wherever we need to, because we have no idea where the answer lies. Right. So if you say the answer has to be in this box and the answer is not in that box, guess what? I can't help you. Right. The other thing is you also have to have the ability to surrender to that process. Got to let me go down, do all that work for you. Right. Because when you're talking about trance work, when you talk about hypnosis, when you talk about working with the subconscious mind, anything consciously you're doing is getting in the way of that story. Right. I can't go down and have those conversations, do the exploration if you're in the way. Right. But once I have your agreement, we can do that. Great. Let's open up the door. I'm going to go dive in, figure out the truth. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to know the answer. Because your mind knows exactly why it's doing what it's doing. So there's no mystery. There's nothing for us to figure out. We just have to get your mind to give us the story, help us understand it. It has the answers. Great. I would love to hear the answers to these questions, please. Right. And that's just a beautiful, like, back and forth exploration down there. But the most powerful piece is then we have to negotiate a new solution. right? Because I can't tell your mind to do stuff. It doesn't have to listen. It's not going to listen to you, because if it was going to, it would have done that already.
Yeah.
Which means it doesn't trust you.
Mm.
And since all the changes you want to make are to allow yourself to do stuff that thinks are bad, wrong, or dangerous in some way, why would it let you?
Mm. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I'm doing down there is basically acting as a third-party negotiator in a labor dispute. Right. You're the CEO of a company, and everybody else is on strike, and they're in a union, and you can't fire them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Negotiations are broken down. Right.
Yeah.
You need somebody to sit down and say, okay, great. What the heck is the problem? Because your mind feels it's doing the right thing. It's got reasons for everything it does. And it's not going to stop doing it just because you don't like it, because it doesn't have to. Great. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me why this makes sense. Show me the problems you're trying to solve by doing this. And once we understand that, we can do the work we need to do all that reframing, to negotiate a new understanding of what things were, to negotiate a new way to deal with these problems, or to negotiate the problems were never really there, that we don't have to solve them anymore. Right. Wow. And because it's a negotiation, your mind is always in full agreement, which means there's no need to fight itself after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Which is how this can become so powerful. We're dealing with these really high level things that are affecting major areas of your life that have been going on forever.
Yeah.
And if we can renegotiate those belief structures, like, that opens up a huge amount of space for you. Right.
Wow.
Now, we'll say it doesn't solve everything. It doesn't say this is not a magic wand, right? This is not a magic wand. But it solves some really powerful problems very, very well, right? And the other thing is that a lot of people that come to me are like, okay, I've been working on myself for 15, 20 years. Things are good. Things are better. Why the heck is this stuff still floating around? It's like, why is this not done yet? I've checked all the boxes. It shouldn't be. I should be done. Like, why is this not done? Right? Like, one of the ladies that has a testimony on the website, her name is Katie. She's like, yeah, I've already done like 19 ayahuasca journeys. Wow. It's like, shouldn't you be done at that point? You know? Wow. Or like, yeah, I've been doing like landmark forum for 15, 20 years. It's like, shouldn't you have already been done by now? Right. And the reality is, like, we're playing, those tools are designed to work on levels of mind that don't really get as deep as we need to. Right. And or don't give you the space and tools you need to have those negotiations. Yeah. Or they're using models where the conscious mind is going to impose a solution, which doesn't really work. Right. So from my perspective, it's no surprise why they're not where they want to be, because the tools that they've been using can't really deliver the kind of change they've been wanting to make. But it also means that those people are so self-aware and so willing to go wherever we need to. That's the easiest thing in the world to get them to where they want to be whenever they come over and do this work. Yeah.
Yeah. And what you said before about, people, if they already knew, they don't need me, except I'll disagree on that. Only that.
Sure.
Only that. Sometimes but the need that it's satisfying, to stay there is actually stronger than the
I would say now, I would actually say the opposite.
Would you?
One of the things I talk about, 100%. It's much more of a situation where it's too threatening to take that leap. Okay. Because think about it this way. If you've already tried everything and nothing has worked, right? But you're living a life that's okay.
Yeah.
Then the idea that you could do this thing and get fixed is really appealing, or it should be. Unless if you do that and it doesn't fix you, now you have no hope.
Yeah, that's true.
That it will ever get better.
Hope is big. I think
if taking this, it's absolutely critical, right? Because the thing is, like, if I don't take that, then there's still hope that something out there might fix me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, when you're looking at, man, think about like ending your life and stuff like that. People that have been down there, like, it's often quite safer for them to not take that shot because it preserves hope. Than take that shot and have it fail like everything else. Right. So I don't fault people that come and say, oh, we can't, right? They're not at a point where they can, and that's fine, because it means that it's better for them not to do this. Right.
I think hope is the biggest thing. Hope and joy. I think they are the two biggest game changers in life. You don't have joy. Well, and I'll add curiosity to that, but I just think if you don't have any hope, you. Anyway, moving on. Tell us about.
Let me put it this way.
I'll go. No,
let me address that real fast.
No, I love it. I love it.
So I think that, yes, you have to have hope. That is absolutely critical, right? That's what I got here. This is actually possible. There's a solution that exists, right?
Yeah.
But you don't need much hope, right? in order to really I got to where I was for three different reasons. Like number one, a little bit of hope, a little bit of faith. Yeah. Number two, too goddamn stubborn to quit, too damn stubborn to lose, too stubborn to like. Stubborn counts for a lot, right?
Yeah.
But number three, and this is the thing that I think that when we talk about, frequencies and emotions and hierarchies and stuff like that, so love and joy and hope is the highest one. It's like, no, that's not true. The actual highest vibration or powerful emotion is actually authenticity, it's truth. Truth is like 40 times more powerful than love, right?
Wow.
More powerful than hope.
Yeah.
So you need the faith, you need the hope to be able to keep going, but you need to be operating from truth. Yeah. Because if you're able to own the reality of your situation, whatever the heck it is, then you can do something about it because you actually know what the problem is. You're actually able to face the problem. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That more than anything is what allowed me to get here, because it was recognizing the truth of I'm not done yet. This isn't actually fixed. That's what drove me to keep digging and digging and digging and digging, which is how I figured all this stuff out. Do I wish that I could have pretended? Absolutely. Would have been a heck of a lot less painful. But I would have been living a life that's just fine, but I certainly would never have created this. So I think truth is the most powerful. Yeah.
And I think it's better you are where you are. I think it's better to do the hard yards and sit in the even if you're sitting in pain, you're sitting in truth. I do agree with you, truth. I do. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that it was the highest frequency, higher frequency than love and hope. But it's it makes sense the way you say that. And I do think sitting in your truth, even when it hurts, I say that to a lot of people. Doesn't look in the mirror because it freaking kills you. But it's freeing. Tell us just. What is the toxic, because you move people from a toxic belief system to an optimal belief system. Tell us, what is a toxic belief system and what is the optimal belief system?
When you're growing up and you can't get what you need, we come up with pretty much the same set of conclusions, right? Well, if I can't have it, it must mean I don't deserve it, which means I'm not good enough. Yeah. So there's got to be something wrong with me. Yeah. Right. And it makes sense because up until like 5, 6, 7 years old, number one, we're drawing very simple conclusions from the world, working that pattern machine pretty much only. Yeah. Number two, you've got no control over your environment at all. So the only thing you've got any agency over is you. So you're the drunk guy looking for his keys under the streetlight. Yeah. You start fixing you because that's all you can. Yeah. Right. But the other piece is when you're really young like that, your survival depends upon everybody else taking care of you. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you have to do whatever the heck you have to do to get them to give you what you need. Yeah. And you're the only thing you can fix. Right. Yeah. But what that creates is that toxic belief system of there has to be something wrong with me because I'm not good enough, because I don't deserve, because I can't have the thing. So what have I got to fix all that? Right. So you go looking for answers. Okay, well, this is wrong. They said I did this wrong, so forth and so on. Right. Yeah. That creates what I call the problem self. It's the list of all the stuff that you think is wrong with you or that doesn't measure up in some way. Yeah. Right. So they say, okay, if this is who I'm not supposed to be, who am I supposed to be instead? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Who do I need to be to fix all this stuff? Yeah. Right. This becomes your ideal self. This is who you try to become. Yeah. Right. And if you're really good at something, that tends to be, I'm going to be an athlete, or I'm going to be good at school, or I'm going to be a stockbroker, or whatever the heck that is. That becomes your identity. Yeah. The idea is, if I can become this guy, then I prove this wrong, this goes away. Everything's good. Right. But that toxic belief system is self-reinforcing. If any part of that is still true, the whole thing rebuilds itself. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So if you are ideal self and you're not getting what you want in the world, well, that must mean I don't deserve it still. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. Right. And this tethers you entirely to external validation forever. Yep. It's the only way you know if you're the ideal self is if the world tells you are. Yep. Anything goes wrong, those beings pop up, right? Yep. And even with all this stuff, these fears never really go away. Yep. Right. That makes sense. Yep. My idea is like, okay, if that's the case, then what we really have to do is make this toxic belief system go away in a couple of different ways. Number one, we have to help the mind to understand that it was never about you anyway. You were not the problem. Yep. That need to be fixed. Who you are is not the problem, right? Yep. So the toxic belief system is, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. Yep. Therefore, I can't have it. And it's all painful as hell. Yep. The optimal belief system kind of flips a lot of that on its head. The first one is, there's nothing wrong with me. There never was. Yeah. Who you were as a person was never the problem. Yep. The second one is, there's nothing to heal, and there never was. This is really important because we look at emotions as pain. because massive negative emotion back then was a signal that our survival was at stake, right?
Yeah.
So we start treating intense negative emotion as if it's physical pain and physical threat to our survival, because it is back then. But that also means that survival part of our brain is now treating social situations like a threat to our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And the biggest source of emotional pain is threats to our identity, our ego, who we are.
Mm.
You're
Yeah.
not ideal self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So once we get that whole you're not the problem anymore, now we can start reframing emotions and start taking them from pain to questions. Where every emotion you experience, including those really intense negative ones, are just your mind saying, hey, this is the problem I think we're facing, or this is the situation we're in, and I need your help to figure it out.
Yeah.
Remember back when I said, oh, the body or your mind can do a lot of stuff on its own, but at a certain level, it needs help.
Yeah.
That's one of the situations.
Yeah.
The emotions we experience are the output of that pattern matching part of our mind.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's afraid of saying, hey, we're up against a threat of some kind, we need to get away, I need your help to do so. Yep. And once you understand that a lot of those are social things because it's a threat to your ego, now you are understanding like why we get so much pressure in social situations and the anxiety and the imposter syndrome and all this other stuff, right? But if we can turn that thing from a pain to a question, now you can engage with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to run from it. Your mind doesn't get triggered the same way. And you can actually give your mind what it needs to overcome that obstacle.
Yeah.
Because everything that you're feeling is an obstacle between you and what you want. So feeling bad helps you get to where you want to be. Yeah. If you're willing to face it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Very powerful. But what that means is if emotions are no longer pain, then they don't come from wounds, do they? Which means there's nothing for you to heal. It never was. You just didn't understand that those weren't pain in the first place. So now there's nothing to heal, which means trauma is not necessarily a thing as much anymore because every situation you're facing was just you're facing a challenge. Your mind was screaming at you for help. You didn't have an answer. That's really it. Which means you're not a victim of all this stuff anymore. The things that are happening in your head are yours and things that you created. They're not things that happened to you. Now you get out of that victim mindset a lot, right? Yeah. Yeah. The next piece is really interesting because if you feel like there's something wrong with you, if you feel like you have to heal yourself, then fundamentally it means you're broken in some way, right? Broken things aren't particularly valuable, are they?
That's right.
So how can you have healthy self-esteem?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Which also includes all those people that are trying to be 1% better every day, constantly evolving and growing because it means whatever they are now isn't enough. Right. Yeah. But once we can break out of that, we can actually have self-esteem. Yeah. Actually have self-worth. But we have to create it in such a way that doesn't have to be measured. Because if you're measuring, the answer could always be not enough. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So nothing wrong with me that never was, nothing to heal that never was. I am good enough as I am to deserve whatever I choose. And because it's my choice, I don't have to prove it to anybody, not even myself, which also means that nothing and nobody can prove that wrong.
Wow. That's
which
powerful.
Means you can let go of that toxic. Yeah, it means you can let go of that problem self. You can let go of the ideal self. You don't have to pretend anymore, which means you just get to be true self, who you truly are. That most authentic, most powerful version of you that's always been inside waiting to play once you got past all that other crap. Wow. You don't have to pretend. Nobody can mess with you. Doesn't matter. That's why I can come on shows like this and say, yeah, bipolar episode, got arrested, autistic, messed this up, divorced twice, suicide, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't bother me a bit because that's all true. It's just who I am. Those things don't define me. Those are things I went through. Yeah. Yeah. That is a very powerful place to operate.
Very, very powerful. Extremely powerful. It's just
it makes way too much sense, doesn't it?
It does. That's what I'm just thinking. Thinking, wow, like everyone, pretty much everyone is living in this kind of those worlds, all of those worlds, and even myself, I'm just sitting there thinking, that's so true, and it makes sense. It does make so I'm adding it all up as well, thinking, where am I doing that? Why might I be doing? I'm a big believer in emotions are only signals. They're not negative, they're not positive. They're just signals to move you to something, or to get you to, and exactly like that. I say they're signals to. It's energy in motion to get you to avoid or gain something. And if we don't do the avoid or gain, if we just stop and go, hang on. Where's this come from? Like, what is this that I'm feeling? Why did it come up? Where's it come from? Why is it? What's it trying to tell me? And I'm not saying I've got this figured out, but I'm saying that I do a better job than I used to, or than a lot of people, because I ask that question. What are you trying to tell me? Like, where are we at with this?
Yeah.
Why did I suddenly feel that? And rather than, oh fuck, I'm gonna get away, that feels like shit. I've got to run from it and have a drink.
Yeah.
I'm not
and that's the thing, is
joking.
like, engaging with your emotions is always the best bet, because it is in fact your mind trying to get you to help it do something,
Yeah.
help you navigate a situation, right? So the best thing you can do is always engage with it, right? And there's two pieces, right? There's the energy and motion piece. And I don't necessarily look at it as the energy is trying to get you to move somewhere. Sometimes you just got to let the stuff roll through.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my dog got diagnosed with given a dog to a friend of mine, and he's got cancer. He's not going to be around much longer. So like last week I went to say goodbye. And so a lot of that was just like, okay, I'm heaving and sobbing and howling in agony for an hour or two because it's massive grief. And it's like, no, that's when you just got to let this stuff roll through. You got to let the process play out. Right.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it, but there's also it had its meaning. It meant that I was losing something incredibly precious to me. Right. I felt that intensely because I had something that's worth that much to me to lose.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, that's a good thing. I want to destroy me, please, because it means I've got stuff that I've earned that's valuable to me, right?
Yeah.
I want to be afraid because that means I'm up against challenges that I might not be able to overcome.
Yeah.
Which means I'm actually pushing myself to do things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think let's be honest. There's stuff that sucks. There's stuff that doesn't. There's negative emotions and positive emotions, right?
Yeah.
You're up against challenges and there's rewards. But knowing that and engaging with that on an intellectual level is beautiful, but it means you're still receiving it as pain and you have to still make another choice. Right. Whereas, because there's this whole idea, there's a particular Buddhist meditation style where it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and receive it. I'm going to choose to not experience it as pain. I'm going to engage with it in another way. Great. That's all conscious choice, which means the emotion was generated as pain. You're just choosing to react to it differently. What I'm saying is, why don't we just define them as not pain in the first place? So you never experience the pain at all.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if these are all questions, once we understand what our mind is asking for, and we train our mind to say, this is what this means, something interesting happens. Because what it means is that now the rest of your mind knows what this part of you needs when these things come up. So instead of all the stuff bubbling up to conscious awareness, if it can solve it at a lower level mind, it just does. Which means you don't have all this stuff bubble up. You don't have all these negative thoughts and negative emotions like slamming you all the time, because your mind can now coordinate that stuff at a lower level. You've got people to handle that. And now they know what each other need. They can handle that and coordinate at a lower level. So when stuff does come up, conscious awareness, number one, it's important. Number two, it's usually less intense because your mind doesn't have to scream at you anymore to get your attention. You get to cooperate with it a lot better. Right. So it tends to be a lot gentler experience. Or if it's intense, it's because you really need to do something about it. Right.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very different experience and navigating through a very different way. Right. Like, think of how much stuff we do just to manage our emotional state and clear our mind and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the meditation and yoga, and let me go ahead and spend 2.5 hours at the gym to make bad feelings go away. Like, cold plunges, and let me take 87,000 different pills. It's like, once you do this work, then none of that stuff is really necessary to do for that reason. Like, you want to do meditation as exploration consciousness, love it. Go to the gym because you love doing it. Want to feel, get a better body, get in shape, love it. Right. But you don't have to do it as a way to maintain your mood and your mind.
Yeah.
Because you cleared out the crap that was driving this stuff. Right.
Wow.
If we fix those subconscious things, those deep things, then everything that you're normally dealing with on a conscious level that comes out of it doesn't come out of it anymore, because we fixed the things that were driving it. Your default frame on reality is there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing for me to heal. I'm good enough. I deserve it. I don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
If that is your base filter on reality, if that is a framework that you're navigating life from that point on, think about how much crap you don't have to fight anymore.
How lovely.
Right. And since your mind is now all in the same team, because you've had this negotiation to get everybody on the same page again, you don't have to fight yourself anymore.
Wow.
Right. Your mind can't manipulate you anymore because they took away the carrot and stick. So it has to play fair now. Right. Which is a really big thing. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff gets so much easier. Right. And you get to hear everything more clearly, which means you get to A, move from the authentic truth of who you are, and B, be able to hear those deeper intuitions about your purpose and follow that and act in alignment a lot easier, because you don't have the noise in the way and you understand what things mean, so you can interpret the signals correctly.
Wow. Well, I absolutely love it. For everybody, Ryan does cost a few thousand. However, I
Mhm.
would put to you that, and that is to get you to wherever you need to be, no matter what it takes.
Mhm.
But I would put to you, how many thousands do we consistently spend? All of us, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this and
Oh
that
yeah,
and this and that and medications and chiropractors. And I'm not saying don't do
yeah,
any of those, but I'm just saying all
oh
the
yeah,
things we do to constantly fix the ripple effect of the problem that we're not
yeah.
solving. And I actually think that, a few thousand is actually a very, a cheap, well, it's not cheap, but you know what I mean? It's a much more cost
It's
effective
worth it.
fix. Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like
wow.
how much more time do you want to spend doing with this? Like how
Yeah.
much more do you want to go through until you just like push the button and fix it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like if I had had this from the beginning, like God, like
Yeah.
I probably spent like 130, $140,000 getting
Yeah.
myself to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And that was just to be so that I could figure out how to fix it myself
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
And it's like everything helped, like everything was expansive. Like I couldn't have gotten here without it. Right. And so I don't want to say that just do this and don't do anything else. And after that work was done, like there's still a lot of work I need to do to adjust my models of the world now. It's like
Mm.
because everything that I did to navigate the world was based on me being all messed up.
Mm.
Right. So now those frameworks have to adjust to the fact that I'm not messed up anymore. It's like, how do you do dating? You know, how do I do dating now that I'm healthy? Like, how
Mm.
do people that have a secure attachment style do that? Because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting problem, but it's a lot easier problem to solve. So yeah,
Yeah.
I still work with coaches and everything, but I'm doing it from a very different level.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you want to go ahead and, like I said, that lady done like 19 ayahuasca journeys, people coming to me doing like 15, 20 years of work. It's like, great. Let me go ahead and just go ahead and pull it together, wrap that in a bow. So now all that stuff is taken care of and you can go on and do something more interesting. Right.
Mm.
So for the person ready, it's huge. But if this isn't for you
Mm.
yet, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm doing my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, it's not just the financial
Mm,
cost of continually trying to repair yourself. It's the emotional cost, it's the physical cost, it's the
yeah.
mental cost, it's the time cost. Like,
Yeah.
like I know I've been bloody doing a lot of work, and it's the cost. It's for me, it's the cost of um wasting time, figuring things
Yeah.
out when it's, yeah. Anyway, I think I love this
Absolutely.
stuff. Ryan, where can people find you?
So my website is thebeliefengineer.com.
Yep.
You can find me on LinkedIn and YouTube the same way. I've got links to the course on that on my website. I've also wrote a book called Winner Peace: How to End Inner Conflict and Make Success Inevitable. It's kind of the starter point for all this stuff. And it'll
Yep.
take you through as much as I can in a book to get you as much of this as in a book format. It's available on
Yep.
Amazon, again, linked on my website.
Yep.
LinkedIn as well. And then going to start an Instagram up soon. So going to be all over.
Fantastic. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I have loved this. I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. I absolutely love it, and I really appreciate you sharing all of this, and really appreciate your truth, actually, more than anything. Just your willingness to be vulnerable and honest and authentic, and standing in your truth. I think that it's when you say that's the most important thing. They're the kind of people that we like to be around. The people who are willing to stand in their truth. So thank you for being that. Thank you for joining us.
Karen, well, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for being able to dive deep like this. I love having this conversation. So
Yeah,
thank you for giving me that opportunity.
my pleasure. All right, chat again soon. Thanks, Ryan.
Cheers.
Thanks.